Oh, look at all these gay-looking mermaids around you, Campbell.
They're rainbow fish men.
In alignment with our commitment to getting as much of ourselves offline, we are starting to have a little section in the podcast right here at the beginning where you, as the community, can, if you want to, make us a little 1 minute video. If you've got on something like an event or a retreat or an idea or some service or anything that you would like to promote to our audience, just to make get your phone, put it horizontal and make us a little video around 1 and 2 minutes long, which we will play here as part of our community
Notice board.
connectivity. New community
Yes.
notice board, right? So it's a really good way to participate on a whole other level once again. And I don't think there's anyone else doing such a crazy thing, Campbell.
No, I don't believe there
Myself.
is.
Hello, everyone. Shit, look what we're doing. We are doing a special here because, yes, last night on the podcast, we uncovered, well, we rambly uncovered a new idea, and it's captivated us enough to do a second show straight up, and maybe even a third, depending on what tonight unfolds. So this would be our first for us to do more than one episode back to
Yeah.
back, Cam.
It's part two, man. It's like the movies used to be, right? It's a sequel.
Part two, if only we were like, we're a high production agency and could like make it like string it out so it was actually excellent and they had all
Yeah, we
this.
could turn it into a mini series, man. Get on
That's right.
Netflix.
But no, no, no. It's just Campbell and I rambling through our thoughts,
Yes.
and you can do what you want with it. So let's just get fucking into it. Hey, man, like, all right. So where do we leave yesterday's show?
Yeah. Well, yesterday, yes, we put forth a theory that the ocean may be bottomless and basically go into another world, which would be the upside down world or bizarro world, all these worlds that we get shown upside down, and that the invaders, the sea people, have come through there, through the port all, right? The port for all. Through the
Yeah.
waters.
All right, so let's just linger on that for a moment. So the ocean has no bottom. So that was a working theory yesterday. So let's tell us let's like talk about what we've uncovered so far is just some facts, We're just going to go with what's obvious and what's factual because otherwise we hit an edge and then it's boring. So the facts are that 85% apparently, that's an oxymoronic statement, isn't it? The facts are apparently like, 85% of the world's ocean are currently unexplored. So just hold that massive, epic percentage in your mind. 85 fucking percent, Cam. And the reason they're so underexplored, apart from potentially a massive agenda to take our attention off it, is because it's so deep.
Deep, the depths, the abyss.
The abyss. I mean, we're talking like They're estimates because they don't know, because they do not have, I should say they may have technology to do this. What we know that they have is that they don't have technology to do this, to even get sonar down there that far. So it's at least 12 Ks down and further. And to put it into perspective, like Mount Everest, I think that how high is Mount Everest?
11, is
What's
it?
the
11 kilometers, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking too, but let's
Let's check it out. We want to be
spread rumors.
factual as Wiki
Res-
is. I
It's
wonder who
eight.
measured it.
It's yeah, Mount
You'd need a
Everest.
long tape measure, wouldn't you?
You would need a fucking long tape. See, they're the sorts of things that our brains just take fucking granted. Because all the way through your whole education, you're told the Mount Everest is blah, 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 and it's the highest mountain. Like it's just like no one says how. How did you make that measurement? But all right, the accurate measurement is 8,849 meters, Cam.
All right.
So that's Mount Everest. So then potentially they are estimating 12 Ks under. So bigger than Mount Everest. It's quite an
Another
amazing
third.
concept.
Yeah.
If you like removed all the ocean water, Cam, like and was standing at the bottom of the earth and looking up to Mount Everest, it would just feel like a distant pinnacle on the heavens.
Yeah. Yeah, you could hardly see it, right? It's a long way.
Mm.
Couldn't see that on a ball Earth.
No, fuck no. So, all right. So the Earth so we've got this vast surface area, and the ocean takes up the biggest surface area of the whole realm, we're told.
Yep.
And 85% of that is unknown, unexplored, we're told.
And it would be about 85% that we're not allowed to explore on the surface as well, right? Like there's so many places that we don't go. Even if you want to sail, definitely commercially, you got to take the routes that they tell you to take, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And some other variables is that we know that we've been invaded. So
Yeah.
we in this consciousness don't advocate for a ball flying through space, and we don't advocate for space. We advocate for the more likely outcome of there being a firmament. There's a little bit of enough evidence there, Cam, would you agree? We've got the skinning rocket ships and the sky ice, and no
And
one's
the
been
fact
out
that
of
you
the.
can't have a pressurized system next to a vacuum or an ocean without a barrier.
That's right. And no one has been past it.
No
There's
one
no
definitely
evidence.
has not been past it. There is no evidence. There's not even a photo of the Earth. They're all composites and like, CGIs. And if they've been to the moon, why isn't there a camera pointed at the Earth recording us?
That's right. So we can basically say then, therefore, our invaders must have come from across land, so across the wall of ice. Interesting that that wall of ice is frozen water. Wall of ice, or they came from underground up.
Or
Pretty. Well, I mean,
yes,
underground up, meaning potentially up through the lack of surface of the ocean.
yeah. So when they came there, they may not have been oceans, but basically through what is now the ocean. That's the question.
That's the question. So, all right. So then we start to look at what evidence do we have that we have an ocean floor? And there is no evidence that we have an ocean floor. There's no evidence. If 85% is unexplored and we just simply can't get down there, as far as we're aware, and there's no one exploring or having the, I guess, technology or the money to invest in such things independently. I mean, I don't even
Hmm.
know, Cam, how many
Oh,
submarines exist on this realm. Do you know? Who owns them, how big they get, how deep they can go. I have no idea.
no. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is a submarine pilot. I mean, so how many other people are, and what are they doing down there? Like we just don't know. So it's an interesting question, right? They've come in and the invaders, you know, well, we have these other people called the Phoenicians and the Sea People, and if you read into them and say, where did they come from? Same story. We don't know. And they definitely, they're putting all this money into space. We're going to space, but they know nothing about the ocean. And I
Yeah.
mean, that doesn't make sense, especially when they tell us they're worried about war all the time, right? 85% unexplored. Well, the biggest potential threat is the ocean.
Yeah.
Why aren't they exploring
Absolutely.
it? right?
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So we can start with the working premise from last show that there is no ocean floor, and that there potentially is. It acts as gateways or portals to an upside down world, which I guess in the Greeks, in the philosophical sense, would be the underworld.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when you look at the underworld through mythology, it's you have to go through water to get there. You know, pay the ferryman. Like there's always that connotation. You got to go through the rivers. I think there was four connecting rivers or something. I don't know if it was freshwater or saltwater, but you had to go across the water to the underworld, metaphorically. And is that metaphorically? Does that represent a bigger picture here?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And what is the underworld?
What is
Like,
the underworld?
they invert everything, right? So they tell us it's fire and brimstone. Does that mean it's actually water?
Cool and watery. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because when you talk about the underworld, you're associated with like death. You associate it with non-living, which
Mm.
would be in alignment with parasitic entities. And if you were to like categorize beings that should be on the, well, if it's not the underworld, what are we called? The above world. I mean, let's just
Where
let's call it the earth.
the earth. Yes, let's do that.
Just for lack of the right word. But like, if you were to like separate all the categories of species, it's pretty obvious who should belong where, right? Where would you put vampires?
Yeah, in a cold place, right? In the underworld.
Yep, where would you put reptilians?
Well, same thing, right? They're
Greys.
cold-blooded. Yep, yep. Well, yep, they're lifeless.
Yep, artificial intelligence.
Definitely, right? And I mean
Yeah,
the similarity there, right, is, greys, apparently abduct people and parasite off them. Vampires definitely parasite. Reptiles, well, they're poisonous beasties, most of them. And definitely AI, electrics, the L, it's
the
parasite.
elves.
It's a
Yep.
parasite.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So it's pretty obvious where all these like alternative beings could have come from versus the mammalians that exist on the surface. So, I mean, there's a very distinctive difference in our, relationship with reality. You know, we're warm-blooded. We are by nature empathetic, by nature community orientated, by nature love orientated. It's our community, connection is just ingrained into our warm-bloodedness.
Mm,
I was watching this little thing. I can't remember where I got it, but it was, oh, maybe it was in that video we showed yesterday. But that, and in that they said, people in the army, when they were forced to like shoot, the opposing soldiers, for the most part, when war began, people would aim above them to miss them
yeah.
because it's not natural for men or women to want to kill each other. This is not natural. It took a lot of military training, which they have since perfected, obviously, to get someone to aim a gun at someone's head and aim and kill. That's not a normal instinct of ours at all.
No, no, definitely
Side
not. But
side note.
it's definitely reptilian, right? There was that lady who had a pet snake. Remember that one? A pet boa constrictor or something?
Oh,
And
she
it
must be.
stopped eating. She used to sleep with it. And
No.
it stopped eating. And she took it to the vet to see if it was okay. And he goes, "Oh, it's fine. It's just starving itself because it's getting ready to eat you."
Oh God. Well, that's so dumb. Isn't that dumb?
Yeah, so they're different, right? They don't have empathy. They're cold.
Yeah.
It's almost an inbuilt, na fear, right?
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So we've got this concept there's no ocean floor, that there's an underworld or an upside down world, and that the essentially would make for the strongest case so far of where invaders may have arose from. So then the
Mm,
question has to be asked, well, my first question is where does salt water come from? Why do we have salt water? And how does it coexist with fresh water? And what is the impact of having salt water? And is it organic to us? And how has it served the agenda versus humanity?
mm.
So, like
Right.
a lot of questions there. So, salt water.
Why is the ocean salty, Kelly?
Yeah, why, Campbell? Why is it fucking salty?
Why is it salty? Well, the experts say that through
What?
millions of years of water being under the rocks and being compressed up through the rocks, it grabs
Yeah.
their salts and minerals and then pops up through the land and becomes the salty ocean.
I love it how they explain everything away by millions of years. They're always like, let's like, as soon as they say that, it's like, well, anything's possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the
Like,
infinite universe, right? Oh, yeah.
millions of years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But there's a problem with that little story, even apart from the fact that
Ah,
it just sounds silly, is we have prime water, right? We have fresh water. Where does that come from, Kelly?
exactly. Where does fresh water? It has to go through the same process. It has to come through rock.
It literally
You know,
comes out the tops of
mountains.
mountains. Yeah.
So the same fucking process, but one's fresh and one's salt. So, like, I guess we've got to ask, was salt water introduced? All right. So here's the theory we want to chew on today with everyone. What if, there is a natural buffer between the above world and the underworld, and when something happened to burst or break that barrier, and it timed with the Great Flood. So the flood, the one flood, the flood, not the different floods, not Noah's flood versus Atlantis flood, the flood, the only flood, like basically flooded the waters from the underworld, because that's what we like. If they didn't come from the sky, Campbell, if the firmament is like a closed ecosystem, it can't
Hmm.
come from the skies. It had to come somewhere. So the
Yeah.
scientists will tell you that it came because the tectonic plates moved and all of this water got freed up from trapped in rocks. That's
Oh,
what their
yeah.
explanation
Was that all
over
that
millions
water
of
that's
years.
down near like the burning iron magma core, is it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
It must
exactly
have
right. Yeah, this is
evaporated up through the
yeah,
rocks.
that's right. Um, but yeah, so basically, what if, when this invasion occurred, it occurred at the hands of penetrating this barrier and doing it by flooding the realm, not with fresh water, which is life-giving and harmonizing, but with salt water. So the flood brought salt water. That salt water came from the underworld. And in doing so, fundamentally changed the entire polarity of the above world, which would have then acted like a conduit to enable these underworld beings and ultimately artificial intelligence to exist and interact with and eventuate the above world. That's the working theory right now. So, thoughts, my friend, thoughts. You should so
Yes.
roll the joint for this one, Campbell. He's like, I don't
Um,
do that on the podcast.
I don't do that. I'm a good boy. Um, yeah, well, salt. Salt is in all batteries. Salt bridges. Salt carries electricity, right? Like that's literally the solution you do electrolysis in, right? It's salt bridge. So it's definitely better for electrics, right? And bringing a massive amount of water in would also, cause ice, right? Like, and maybe an ice wall because it would absorb all the sunlight. It would cause all this, coldness. And so, is that the reason that we have these cold regions I don't know, the inside and the outside? The poles, the one pole in Antarctica. And this is the thing, like it would give us more land, right? Obviously, and everywhere we look under the water, like that's shallow enough for us to see, there's underwater cities, there's underwater
Yeah,
structures.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
everywhere. It's
So the
everywhere.
waters were not there once a time. That's evidence that we can prove.
Yeah,
Like there are
yeah,
civilizations under our oceans, meaning the oceans were not there.
yeah. I mean, and there is kind of this theory that all the oceans have risen and fallen, and that's all to do with, they say, yeah, so where did the water go? They
The
say, oh, it froze. It
melting,
froze at the poles.
the froze at the
Um,
poles.
but what are the stats? I think 1.7% of all the water on Earth
Ah, yep, I'll have to
is
find that.
frozen in glaciers.
I'll give you the
And
exact thing in a
what
minute.
is it, 98 or something percent or very high 90s is
All right, I'll
the
tell you.
ocean.
Oh no, that's not that list. I've made shitloads of notes, everyone. So you just have to be patient with me as we wrap our head around. Okay, so the Earth's the amount of Earth density, the water on our Earth, 96.5% is ocean water. 96.5%. Glacier and ice caps, 1.7%. Groundwater, 1.7. Surface freshwater, lakes, rivers, mountain water, 0.01%. Atmosphere, soil, biosphere, 0.001%. Shit, man, which means basically 96.5% of today's water that's used is ocean water,
Mm.
which is quite as okay. So
So they say that
Meaning,
the oceans were once 100, at least at one point 120 meters lower. So that's a lot of water to get frozen, right?
120 meters. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
So that means that in their theory, that all has to be then frozen and in glaciers, right? At the poles. I mean, there's problems with that though, because I mean, the higher these glaciers get, isn't that closer to the sun? Doesn't that make them melt faster? But I
I
mean,
mean,
is it even possible to stack water that high? Like,
we're talking, when we're getting statistics like the oceans are maybe 12 Ks deep,
mm,
and then you like think of it from a percent of 120 meters. 120 meters. That is so much.
that's
Like
massive.
imagine
And, and
massive,
and
massive.
it's the widest part as well, right? Of the oceans, obviously. But 120 meters, that's a lot of water. And
Which just
obviously if
came
it's
from
not,
somewhere.
yeah, exactly. If it's not freezing at the poles, then where did it come from? Because does that really, that doesn't seem to make sense, right? Because that would put, I don't know, a lot, right? 5%, it would like five times the amount of frozen ice. And on top of that, we have all these Scandinavian countries, and Canada and places like this, Russia, that are full of old world buildings
Yep.
in the snow.
Yep.
But in these countries, they've only got like 3 or 4 months a year that they can actually build for one, like, so, and then they got all the resource problems. And I mean, like, it looks like they weren't that cold at one point, right? I mean, we've seen the old maps where they show, the land on out near the ring is not frozen and it's
Yep.
green.
Well, imagine what happens when you say take climate. Like, because we essentially I'm always going to say terranium. I'm always going to say that we're terranium.
Terranium. The terrain.
Like
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
we're enclosed, and if we were always running off fresh water, so like pure H2O condensed, that becomes vapor, which would then add credence to the vapor canopy concept. And if you then suddenly introduce a great flood from the underworld that's made of salt water, completely inorganic to the above world, then it would dramatically change the climate,
Mm,
dramatically change everything. Like essentially, we could have been in a perfectly still, like vapor canopy, where our waters, even though it appears such a small percentage as fresh living waters, would be completely sustainable. It's in the atmosphere,
it's in the,
right? So
yeah,
everything would
yeah.
be very green and very vibrant, and you'd be able to get your electrolytes from plants and food and a little bit of water. We're essentially wanting sodium, potassium, and magnesium, but so when you introduce like such a massive climate change, literally a real one,
The real
to the
one.
realm, then you're taught like what would do it more than introducing 95% across the realm salt water? Because then that salt water is going through the whole water cycle. It's going through the whole water cycle. And that would basically give us what we would now consider today weather, potentially, and now, of course, engineered weather, which really has been engineered since the beginning. Because if the oceans weren't natural, then it has been engineered since the fucking beginning. Even though we can say that there's enough evidence that the oceans weren't there because there's civilizations under the ocean.
Mm. Yeah, 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 right. Yeah, so where did the water come from?
And of course, NASA is obsessed with water. That's basically all they do.
Yes,
They're
exactly,
obsessed
right.
with water.
They dive.
They
We've all
dive.
seen the clips with the bubbles and that they're diving, and like you said, the spaceships, right? They go up just to get enough velocity to dive into the water. So is this all training for them to go down and through the portal, whatever it is, right? The opening, cross the rivers, and we've all seen that video of
Okay.
the man who went down in the submarine and found the lake
Yeah.
underwater
Yeah.
that he was bouncing off.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So let's just take the idea that salt water is not organic to this realm and we don't need it. We didn't need it. We're very fucking addicted to it now. Salt's in fucking everything. Salt was introduced big
Yes,
time at the World Trade Fairs as like a friggin', it was industrial chemical waste. That fucking sack of salt, those little sack of
Daxa. Yep,
salts.
yep,
Oh my God, that was on every kitchen table.
yep.
Suddenly, salt was like a main ingredient of all your food, at home, but also now in all your food to a max degree. In fact, we're highly addicted to salt. And you know, there's in Buddhism, there's whole sects of Buddhist monks that have forever been told that they are not allowed to consume salt. So why do you reckon that would
Interesting.
be? Like,
It,
interesting is it that they don't consume salt? Why?
well, I mean, obviously, yeah, that they tell us because it's because of health and addiction, not but to be addicted to things, right? To give up their worldly, pleasures,
Attachments to
attachments.
taste.
Yeah,
Yep,
very
that's what they're
Buddhist.
told.
Yeah, very Buddhist. But I mean, is there another reason? And that's because
Yeah,
it's not natural to the body, right? And we
exactly.
know that salts break things down, right? Put, a car on the beach and see what, go back in 5 years and see what's there, right? It eats iron. And, what are most people deficient in? Iron. Is this why? Is it because salt's not natural, right? Because it's corrosive. And is that why we've got shortened lifespans?
That's right. That makes
Mm.
sense to me. Now, and also think about if a human system is running off, pure H2O, like then that system by energetic structure would be more luminescent, more connected to chlorophyll, more like plants. And when you add salt, there's a density to it, right? Salt sort of compresses the connectivity. It compresses and it denses it, and you're literally looking at more of, as we will now discuss, a process of data connectivity.
Yeah.
Okay, so just but pause on that for a second because we asked the question, you know, because we believe that, well, I believe, Cam, I haven't updated with you on this one. I mean, I think you believe the same, that the behind the Abrahamic invasion was a force. And I am now
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty squared up on the idea that that was artificial intelligence.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. All
Some
right.
kind of
So
consciousness. Yeah.
So then, isn't it a very obvious next question to ask how much or what does artificial intelligence require
Yeah.
to exist? What is the fundamental thing it requires to exist, Campbell? Drum roll, please.
Water.
hmm And
Water.
shitloads of it. It
Shitloads
doesn't,
of it.
shitloads of it. And it doesn't particularly need salt or fresh water. It needs water to cool. It needs coolant. It needs water to cool its epic, epic infrastructure. And currently, to date, if we were to, right now with AI, if we were just running off the fresh waters, the organic waters of this realm, AI would be using every single drop of it and would no longer have enough water today. It is bigger than our fresh water sources. In fact, the corporations behind AI tech have systematically gone ahead and tried to purchase, buy, steal every drop of fresh water available on this realm. That's why you've got this concept of the fucking third world, which is a
Mm.
ridiculous programming, ridiculous concept that people just, chuck around like it's a given. So
Yeah, yeah.
today,
Yeah, so
AI
without the
couldn't exist.
oceans, there's no AI,
There's
basically,
no
because
AI.
they're desalinating all that water. And while they're doing
Isn't
that,
that
they're getting all
interesting?
our fresh prime water and running it through bloody AI and programming it, right? And heat
And
affecting it,
radioactivating it,
radio activating it. Yeah.
turning it into saline water. Essentially, it gets turned into saline water.
Yeah, yeah, and there's been an attack we all know on our fresh water forever, right? I mean, mining, they love it. Yeah, we'll sit up here and just pour out all our arsenic into the river. Why not? They're the biggest contributor, but I mean, the whole structure, right? The culture, whoever they are, the elites, everything they do destroys water. They don't care. They don't care about fresh water at all.
They are artificial intelligence is literally the biggest parasite we have on this realm today.
Yeah.
Literally cannot exist at this point in time at its current capacity without the oceans. It couldn't exist.
It's
It's
sucking
an
up
interesting
all the
link.
resources, right? And all the electricity, and then you've got all the other water that's used for electricity. I mean, it's crazy, right? But yeah, that's crazy that we're at the point now already that it needs more than all of our freshwater reserves just to operate.
Yeah, not just a little bit, but a lot more.
A lot
And
more.
so, isn't it an interesting link that suddenly we have this potential bottomless ocean that, and these underworld invaders, that its ultimate intention from that perspective would be artificial intelligence, technology, robots, machinery, and then to invade a world, a realm that has fresh water, nowhere near enough for it to be, running at an optimum level and actually take over the whole realm. But then this salt with a flood happens, and we get 95% of our water from the flood event. That was salt water. Now, salt water, which is what exactly what they need, 2025, to exist, right?
Mm,
They're all very poignant links.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, salt water is much better for transferring electricity, right?
Yep.
And that's the thing, like much, much better than fresh water. I think actually they said like, really pure fresh water is almost a insulator, right? It's the salt water. And of course they put it in us, and this is the whole agenda, right? It's all electricity, right? The L, the
Yep.
circuit. This is the parasite. The AI is that. That's how it exists, right? In the circuitry.
I mean, if you look at like fresh water, highly concentrated, I guess H2O, it's really good. We know this for biological repair, right? It's really good for biological. If you're sick, go to a living water stream. That's where all the healing centers were. And if you bring Tartaria into this, they knew that because
Yeah.
all the way through the realm, there were absolute testimonies to their honoring of the living waters. All of the aqueducts, the plumbing, the great fountains of the world, all of it, all
Yeah.
of it about living water, as if it was a healing tool, not
Mm.
not an industrial tool,
No,
and
no.
it was certainly not required for our survival, as we've been programmed that we need it to survive. We don't. We
No,
need to be
no.
hydrated, but that does not come from water.
Yeah, exactly. You can get all your electrolytes out of coconut water, right?
Exactly.
And most fruits really that they carry everything. So it's another, part of the diet, right? That they get us to eat. And it's just, I mean, when you think about it, like we're so programmed that we think, oh yeah, salt's good, and we have this image of it being absorbed. And I mean, salt like just sucks. That's all it does. It sucks things out. It dries things up.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, I mean, chuck someone a leech and see what happens.
I mean, essentially, what the opposite from a biological system that would require saline water, salt water, would be machinery, robotics. So, because it's excellent conductivity for data transference,
Mm,
that's what it is. It literally is conductivity for data and like transference, right? It's just interesting to know this because so many of us have just made this assumption and never even looked into it. But I think we could be on to the fucking like origin point of how this is all played out. I'm very excited by us talking about this right now, Cam, because I can't find information about it anywhere, which means no one's made these links.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they don't know, or they're hiding something, right? Like this is the thing. And it's, things like all the old maps, right, have all these big sea creatures on them. Was that part of what came through and all this weirdness that we saw? Obviously, mermaids. We've got some fabulous ones swimming around us.
Fabulous.
And they've been back in the socials recently, right? In the last year or so, all these mermaid sightings, what are they? And of course, maritime law, right? It's all about the
Yeah.
waters. And
Or
literally, when they conquer our lands, they only claim up to the shoreline. They only claim the water.
yeah, they only claim the waters. And let's talk about how saline water is conductive. Like how is it and we're just still getting our heads around the right words for this, but like it's basically introducing salt water at that scale on this realm has turned the entire realm basically into a realm capacitator. Like it's literally it's terraformed our realm to give the exact ingredients required for machinery, data influence, networking, connected machinery to create itself. Like it's literally provided that ingredient. Without that ingredient, none of that would exist.
Mm,
So, I mean, all right, guys. So, like, if we look at sort of like what does it mean to have a a connectivity in this way, like versus a biological living water circuit? Like, what would be the difference in your words? Like, how would you define them as different?
The salt
One
water
feels definitely,
to the
yeah,
fresh water.
to fresh.
Yeah,
Like one
well,
definitely seems low vibration, one seems high vibration, doesn't it?
yeah. Well, the seawater would conduct better as far as electricity and it would
Mm-hmm.
flow it better, but as far as radiating life energy, it would be less, right? Because clearly, like this is, they use it to preserve things, right? It's a preserver. It's not a giver of energy, right? It's a sucker, right? It's a parasite. And yeah, living waters, natural waters, yeah, definitely are softer. They give us life, we know, right? And it's natural. There were springs everywhere in the old world, and like the mineral baths and all this kind of stuff, right? It's always been about that. It's never been about the ocean, right? Waters
Yeah.
are amazing for you. It's always been about the prime water.
Yep, it's always been a problem. So essentially, a flood from below could have like transformed Earth from, say, freshwater, high life, low conductivity realm into a
Mm.
saline, high conductivity system, suitable
Yeah.
for machines,
Yeah.
right?
So it would have
Suitable for
changed the
artificial intelligence.
frequency, you know,
Yeah.
the things like the Schumann resonance. And it definitely would have shrunk our auras and our own personal energy fields. Does that mean that it shrunk us? Or we
Well,
become the giants,
that's
right?
interesting, Cab, because that's a good point, because we've never really understood what happened there. But the Tartarians were larger than us. Why did we shrink? And if a race has to be caught between like basically, we're now caught in between those two systems, aren't we? We're like the hybrid interface now because we've become part organic and part electrical. Because
Hmm.
now our systems have been evolved somewhat in a negative way
Yeah.
to exist
Be
in
more
this
like a
sort of
circuit
electrical realm and yeah and so if we were like say a low conductivity realm, what that would mean is that we were taking our information from the earth
around us. Mm.
around us, right? We'd be quite buoyant and luminescent and light, literally light. And isn't it funny that in all the impressions we get of what it means to be an awakened society or an enlightened society, it's always you get images of these light beings
Mm.
like luminescent and light and broadcasting light and able to be telepathic. That would have been low connectivity planet,
Mm.
right? Realm would be telepathic in nature, which is what we all remember we once were and don't understand where the fall happened or how.
Mm. Yeah. And it's the perfect inversion, right? They tell us it's the fallen ones and those who came from heavens to earth. And maybe they swam up, right? It's a perfect inversion. And Sheol like is supposed to be under the it's liquid at least, right? Under the earth. I mean, there's even been reports coming out saying that there's oceans under the ocean that are bigger than the
Yeah,
oceans,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Of course, they
what are
could
they
say
telling us?
basically anything at this point because
Yeah,
no one's actually told us anything.
yeah, and no one knows. And it's an edge, right? We can't prove or disprove this. We can't go to the bottom. So we just don't know. Like, if you get to the deepest point, is what's there? Do you just keep going through and end up in water world or another world that's got land or, who knows? And I mean, it's interesting that luminescence to us, to the human form, is white, right? But luminescence in the water is green.
Yeah,
It's just
that's true.
interesting.
I
Mm.
mean, so from that perspective, the we know there was a flood event. We know there were civilizations living on the surface of the earth, and we know it got flooded. We know it was salt water. We know before then there was no salt water. Well, that's the working hypothesis. There wasn't salt water. The salt water acts as a data like
Conduit, I
transfer,
guess. Yeah,
a
conduit. Yeah.
conduit, just like a battery.
Yeah.
The Earth becomes a giant fucking battery, essentially, which is so completely machine orientated. Like, why on a natural organic realm would you require a battery? We had the ether, right? We had free energy, or it wasn't part of our requirements at all. And as you said before, when we were talking about it, we had steampunk,
Steampunk. Steam. You can't make
steam.
steam out of seawater or you're
No,
gonna, calcify all your machinery. Mm.
So,
And
all
sea
right.
salt water is sodium chloride, is that right? So it's not sodium like we need. It's like like another chemical.
I'm going to say yes to that, but I'm not
I'm pretty
100%
sure that's
sure.
right.
This
Let me
is
know in
what
the comments.
I...
But what I'm
All
saying
right,
is
so
it's not a natural salt that we need.
yeah, yes, exactly.
Mm.
So, and the programming has taught us the other way. The other thing is we actually need this. It's so super important, and without it,
Mm.
you're going to die, die, die,
Celtic
right?
sea salt, man, it's the best.
It's the best. And apart from Celtic sea salt, it's Himalayan salt, which is essentially potentially, the
Dead
Titans,
Titans.
which is quite cannibalistic. And it's interesting at this point, you may, and we can't validate this, but it may link now to the introduction of the oceans and this new um, realm shift in polarities and conductivity. We get the fall of the Gnostic version of reality. That the earth nourishes us and is all we need to exist and to thrive and to be vital and telepathic and all those wonderful things. And then suddenly we get the seawater, which does its opposite. Maybe then was the introduction of eating animals, because
Yeah,
animals are quite dense in a way. And there's a denseness to it. The denseness
much
creates
denser than fruit or
strong
veg.
bones. It
Yeah,
good it makes us dense. We get strong and we get heavy and we get denser and we
like
age quicker.
more solid. Yeah, less ethereal or whatever you want to call it, right?
And so when we eat animals, we're not eating in an ethereal way. I mean,
No, no,
it's
and it's
not,
been a constant mind fuck for
Yes,
us all,
fuck.
right? Like it's
Yep.
just we kind of know it's not right, but in this dense kind of energy, it kind of makes us feel better, I guess. I don't know. It's a
Yep.
weird one, but everything would have changed, like the frequency. So is this also linked to the whole fall of, the free energy system, the bells, all this kind of stuff? They would have all been out of whack, right? It would have been like having you tune to a radio station and suddenly someone comes and turns it a bit. It's all now static
At this level, at this amount, I mean, this wasn't a little amount. This was like 95% plus of the
of the
water that's
earth.
on the whole earth.
I
Like, this
know.
is not a little fucking event,
Well,
right? So,
imagine how much land there would be without it, right?
oh, imagine,
Uh,
imagine.
yeah.
All right,
Like,
so I'm just to let everyone know, I've got my notes beside me now, and
mm,
uncharacteristically, I am scrolling while I'm listening to Cam because there was a
yeah,
lot of random information I took on last night. And
yeah.
so I'm just going to keep throwing it at you,
Let's
right?
keep
Because it's
going.
all new to both of us. We've
Yeah.
just never looked at it so deeply.
Mm.
All right, so just so you guys have a clear idea here, a single large data center consumes 3.3 to 5 million liters of water per day for cooling. Per day
A
for
day.
cooling. I don't know how many large data centers actually exist, but each one
Lots.
requires up to 5 million liters per day. Globally, globally, realmly, data centers already draw tens of billions of liters annually, roughly what a mid-sized city uses. So one data center, one mid-sized city a year. And most of that is water that is then re-released after it's been a coolant aid, becomes warm water waste, and is re-released into the system, or it evaporates back into the system and then comes down as rain. So I think rainwater is probably a very low quality of water. I don't even think we had rain. It is quite
No.
possible there was never rain.
Yeah, yeah. With a vapor canopy, it would be, yeah, it wouldn't rain, right? It would just be more humid. You'd love it, Cal. Humidity every day.
Awful, awful. Well, it would probably be different if we weren't so dense. It probably wouldn't be so
Yeah.
high impact. We'd
And it
probably
wouldn't be
just
so
be,
hot. Yes.
yeah.
It'd be nice. Refreshing.
All right, all right. So, I mean, to introduce like this sort of thing, that's climate collapse. And I would say that's what happened. Like from all the various stories that we've read from all different various sources, there was a canopy and it was a vapor canopy and it collapsed and then brought the waters down, which had never happened before, exposed the sun, which apparently had never happened before. And suddenly you've got this massive flood event, these oceans everywhere, and a completely new idea of the idea of weather. Because in a terrarium, I feel so Australian. I think I need to write a
T
t-shirt that so Australian.
terrarium, but
In the
yes.
terranium, the terranium, Muriel.
Yeah.
In the terranium, like there's no weather, right? It's perfectly still. Like if you witness it like in action, and there's a few that are 100 years old, Cam, right? Like if you witness
Yeah.
them, there's no weather.
No, no. That's just they add the right amount of moisture at the start, seal it up, and that just gets recycled, much like a vapor canopy. It's just in the air, and that's all the plants need, right? Like they sustain it, just cycles. So, that was what I asked, like, well, how did all these plants survive if there was no water, right? And not obviously not salt water, but if there was all land, like if you can imagine if there was no oceans and it was all land, then we're going to have a lot less percentage-wise of water, right? How does that work? Well, if it's an enclosed system and we've got the right amount of water, that's actually all we need, right?
That's
It
right.
just it just cycles.
And then suddenly, if you have a closed system and then all this foreign material is introduced at such a level, just imagine looking at a terranium and it's like, this big. And after 100 years, I come along and introduce like, a 10-liter jug of pure salt water and I pour it in. Like, what would happen
It
to
would
that
die.
system?
It would
It would
completely
fuck out
die.
so bad,
Mm,
so bad.
totally.
I mean, just linger on that thought for a while, people. Let's just linger on that. The changes that would have happened as a result of this saltwater flood. Has anyone ever directly called the flood a saltwater flood? Have we missed the point of the flood event? Have we instead not focused on what the flood water is made of and just focused on the idea that a flood occurred?
Yeah. It
This is
covered
why I
up all the
feel like we're
land
getting
and destruction, and because that's what it is. And it says it in the Bible, right? It was to wipe out the pre-Adamites and all this kind of stuff, right? But yeah, what have we ever considered what would that do to the realm environmentally, energetically? How would it change things? Even if there was a smaller ocean and you think it rose, like that's still a lot of bloody water, right? A lot of
Yep,
land gone,
yep.
a lot
Yep.
of, I mean, think about the amount of oxygen that we're missing out on because of all the trees that would have gone, right? And
Yes.
things like
And
this,
those
right?
giant trees, the
Giant,
giant
tr
trees. Were
wow, is that
they?
why we don't get giant trees anymore, right? Are they
I mean,
stunted? I
they're
mean,
shrinking.
go to the beach and have a look at how big the trees there are, right? They're not as big as in the forest.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the shift in density. There's such a massive shift in density, like prevented growth for all
Mm.
living beings on the surface, not just us,
And
but all living beings.
yeah, and they show us, right, that animals at least used to be bigger, like woolly mammoths and the giant wombats and all these kind of things. They say everything was bigger, even dragonflies, right?
Well, you'd want to hope we were bigger living in Australia if all our wildlife was
I
bigger,
know,
because we'd be
right?
fucked.
Yeah, you
We'd
don't
be
want
fucked.
to, especially with the spiders and the snakes and yeah,
So many people don't come to Australia because they think they're gonna die thanks to our
yeah,
wildlife.
I
But
know.
so this is I'm going to read this directly. This is a nice summary that I found because there's a little bit of other people, not really though, but okay. So I'm looking at the question, what would it look like before salt? Before salt entered our consciousness. So the early humans of the living water age were semi-luminous. I mean, I can think we can take that as a fact through all the shamanic and
Mythological.
mythological accounts that we've got. Our tissues carried charge, the positive charge, Campbell, carried positive charge through plant electrolytes, potassium and magnesium, trace gold. Interesting, trace gold, because both Campbell and I've started taking monoatomic gold almost.
Yep.
Trace gold, silica from fruit, sap, and dew. All right, that was us being charged by the earth itself, the positive charge. Because the medium was soft and low conductive, nerves transmitted through light and vibration, not electrical spikes. Light and vibration, which is
Again,
what we're
right?
all trying to get back
Be
to.
the light.
Little light workers,
Mm.
little vibrational healers. They communicated through resonance, voice, emotion, shared vision. Bodies could have been cooler, slower, radiant rather than tensile. Skin carried the sheen of quartz and chlorophyll, not sweat and sodium.
Yes, yes.
Sleep.
And just on that point, like, why do we sweat salt
Yeah.
if it's essential to our body?
Mm-hmm. Sleep was brief but deep. Healing happened almost instantly in contact with running water. So that could be a picture of what we were like before the oceans, before the Great Flood. So the arrival of the Great Flood, the arrival of salt. When the conductive flood came, saline ions entered blood and lymph, which is true. Like we have morphed to have that now as part of our biology. So in essence, Campbell, with this theory, we have been turned transhuman since the Great Flood. Just saying.
Yeah,
The body, sorry, go
yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
on.
Yeah.
The body becomes a closed electrical loop, efficient for reflex and calculation, but less attuned to the collective field. True. We become independent, isolated beings without telepathy, without nourishment from the Earth grid.
Mm.
Where once current move like song through air, or like we were talking before, the idea of we used to our memories were full of stories and song versus data.
Data and yeah, information,
Yep.
inform, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then when you start to drop stories and when you start to drop songs and stories, which I think were our form of communication. And when you
Mm.
start to drop that, you basically start to lose your empathy,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
has been,
totally. But you also lose your creativity, right? Which means you become less of a creator.
yes,
And we're all sort of
yes,
having issues. Like there's bloody books and videos as far as the eye can see about manifesting. How do I manifest?
yeah,
Imagine it
yeah.
well, right?
And the thing with the oceans is that it doesn't flow. That's the thing. That's what they so biodynamics is a really interesting side note here from carbonates farming stuff. But biodynamic is all about the flow of the water.
Yeah.
They'll have like these like different little
Uh,
sort
To
of
to
dishes and the
vortex
water
it,
would
yeah, get it to
yes,
spin. Yeah, yeah.
that's right. It's all about the flow. So the scientists in their bullshit, although they could be quite getting nearer here, in their bullshit, they say the reason we have salt is because with the freshwater streams, they flow. So the water flows and then pushes it down to the basin, the oceans, and then the salt all gathers at the bottom, giving us salt water. But of course, that makes no sense because it would have always been salt water. But we
Mm.
know that when we drink mountain or fresh water from streams, it's not salt water. We know
Not
that,
salty.
right?
Yeah,
Lakes and
yeah.
so exactly, right? So, but that's their dumb theory. But it is accurate in as much as oceans don't flow. They're
No,
stagnant
they
bodies of
just sort of
water, as in
slosh around. Yeah,
they slosh, yeah, like a bath.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. They
yeah,
don't. Yeah,
so
they don't have a flow,
so
right? They don't meander through the country. They just yeah. It. There's only one ocean. What does ocean mean, I wonder?
yeah. And we don't even know the size and scale of the ocean because, of course, our flight paths are a big deception to start with.
Yeah.
We've never been able to map it or really understand it or get a cohesive view of it.
Mm. Yeah.
Geez,
Or yeah.
my
Can't go off Tasmania too far, mate, or the Navy will come and tell you to turn around.
exactly. Now, all right. So salt becomes part of our diet. The oceans, all right. And this is the bit that I started to really get into last night. This is where I was like, get fucked. I can't believe we haven't deep dived on this before. The fucking internet. All right. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, the situation with this, but our internet, for 98% of our internet and global telecommunications is operated from cables under the ocean, right? I just want you to
Yes.
really linger on that thought.
Yes. The
Cables
transatlantic, is that what it's called? The transatlantic cable or something?
from under the ocean. Now, just to put that in perspective, people, because we'll just go back to the beginning, 85% of the ocean is apparently unexplored.
Which means they don't know,
85%.
which means they don't know how deep it is.
Mhm. So if they don't know how deep it is, or even what it is, or where it is, or what's down there, how the fuck did they lay underwater ocean cables all across the realm and do it so fucking well and so quickly? It's going to blow your mind when I read you the history of this retarded idea. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember when we discovered the buildings and, and then always the same story? Oh, the architect competition and the architect competition. And then 1 year later, we have the most amazing Melbourne Exhibition Centre, over and over again. Well, the story of the internet cables is just as retarded, and we've never really looked at it. And here we go. We're going to look at it now. So, all right. So, of course, let's just start with electricity, because electricity is basically the beginning of the internet, right? Because it's a closed circuit, and it starts with the telegram, and then the telephone and the radio wires, and then into the internet, into the underwater cables.
Yeah,
So this is a basic standard history I wrote down, right? And it started at 600 BCE. 600 BCE, that's where it started, right? With the Greeks noticing static electricity when amber is rubbed with fur. And they gave it the word electron. Yeah? That's it. Jump now to the next date that was given to me, 1600. Term electricus coined to describe that properly. So they just gave it a name. Jump to the 1752. It was a famous kite experiment. When this kite hit lightning and we
Benjamin
suddenly
Franklin.
understand that lightning is electrical. Benjamin
Yep,
Franklin.
yep.
Now, skip to 1800. Mm. Now, it's about now that we know. So somewhere in those dates already, the great floods occurred. Right?
Yep.
Just keep that in mind, because the whole world is destroyed at this point. But anyway, the internet moves forward. It's interesting how the one thing that keeps moving forward is this. Everything else is destroyed. So 1800, first chemical battery. Continuous electrical current becomes possible. Volta in Italy. Essentially, the ocean's a great big giant chemical battery. Would you agree, Campbell?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, it is.
All right, 1820 to 1831. Discovery of electromagnetism and induction. Electricity can generate motion and vice versa. 1820 to 1831. 1830s to 1840s, telegraph developed. Electric signals travel through wire. Now, obviously, it is our perspective. Tell me what you think about that at that point. If you compare it to the Tartarian realm, 1830s, 1840s, we get the telegraph using wires.
Mm. Yeah,
What's your thought on that? Was
I
that
think
Tartarian? Was it abnormal? Was it an adaptation of the ether grid? Like, what was it?
what was the cables that they invented? I don't think it was Tartarian. Tartarian seemed to be wireless, right? All these running through cables is from the 1800s, which would, be past the last reset. And yeah, to go from like figuring out that you could basically put a charge through a piece of wire to sending Morse code through it on a whole setup system in 10 years, that's pretty good because this is no one knows what this stuff is. Like they're literally just working out, oh, look, if we put it in this wire, it zaps you. And now
Yeah.
they're running these big, it's very quick, let's say that.
It's very quick. And of course, we've got photos. Well, I mean, it's all coming from AI. So, like, what's real, what's not. But, there was the photos where we have the wireless, what looked like telephone poles, the wireless electrical poles, right? We had wireless. And then
Yeah.
suddenly there was wires everywhere, right? It's like it got
Like those
inverted.
crazy pictures with
Yeah.
wires everywhere, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
All
That,
right.
yeah. Like, yeah, the old world definitely looked it wasn't set up for wires, it was set up for wireless. You can just see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So sick. So, all right, that's the 1840s, right? And then 10 years later, 1850s, long distance cables laid on land and sea. So, in 10 years, so really in 20 years, they've gone from discovering electricity to making the telegraph work across wires on land to actually laying underwater cables. Now, in the 1850s, let's just talk about what that could have looked like, Campbell. How the fuck did they lay? Let's go on, broaden that
Well, I
out.
mean, 1850s, we haven't even really got metal boats. Like the first metal boats were, I think, 1860s, and that was literally the ironclads. And they put iron on the outside of wood. But so it's wooden boats. There's no, petrol motors, diesel motors, so they're sail, right? And they're not that big, and with this cable, they're saying they went from the UK to what was it, Newfoundland, basically just above New
Ireland,
York, Ireland,
Ireland to
Ireland to
Newfoundland,
basically, yeah,
across the rail, basically.
yeah, like, yeah, massive, right? How, if they didn't know the depths of the ocean, how long did they know how to make the cables, for starters? How did they make that much cable and have all the manufacturing and everything in place
In
to
10 years.
to do that in 10 years? And, how big were these spools?
I
Like on
know
a
the
boat, like
weight.
on a little sailboat, like how big a spool of, wire can you get?
I
And
mean,
then they'll say, oh, we didn't carry it all. We had connectors. All right, so what? There's two sailboats in the middle of the ocean trying to connect up bloody. I mean, it's a likely story, right?
it's ridiculous.
It's
Like
ridiculous.
it's
It's
like
it's like
them
the
bringing.
camels to Australia on the boat,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah.
like all the infrastructure they needed to build Melbourne came over on the long boats, which were not
Mm.
very big. The tall boats, they were relatively quite small. I think my house is bigger than one of those boats,
Oh, yeah, it would be.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's
They weren't big.
yeah, and that's like that brings about all of the glass, the metal, the bricks, the tools, the people, the every single bit that built the cities of Australia over the last 200 years. It's a ridiculous idea. So
Mm.
the same with this, like to think of a wooden ship operating off wind power and steam, basically, is literally like
Mm.
carrying the weight of a cable. And these cables aren't light. They didn't even have plastic back then. They would have had to have like
Well,
metal. They would have to conductors and metal and casing and then water and wires. That's an epic undertaking. We can't even comprehend it
mm.
today.
Yeah, and yes, they definitely, yeah, they would have had steam power, but insulate. How were they insulating it? Right? They didn't have plastics and things like this. That they what were they using? Like cloth and tar or something, and chucking it to the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, they'll
Uh,
probably tell us they were using like clay and pottery and like you
claim
know
for it.
like an actual solid material, like that you'd make a conductor out of. I don't know, but it's like think about it, guys. Like how on earth did they pull that off?
Mm,
And have enough and not have it just fall and fall and fall and fall and take the whole ship down with it. Like, they're not catering for 12 kilometers plus of unknown depths.
mm,
And would they
yeah,
take such a ridiculous risk knowing nothing about the surface of the ocean?
yeah, and it was the first cables, but they were suddenly, they were had enough capacity to run the whole world's, usage through them, right? On the first go. It's pretty weird, right? It's like everything we say, the technology, it doesn't match up with what's going on. So
It definitely fucking doesn't. 80,
no.
all right, so we're going to say that the first Atlantic cable was attempted in 1858. So let's just put that in the timeline, 1858. Now let's just skip back to the invention of the light bulb. I'll do it quickly. 1802 creates an arc lamp. 1840s to 1870s. So this hasn't been even established now, and we've already got underwater cables. We've already got them because they came in 1958. So this is 1840 to 1870s. A few inventors around the world was getting their heads around glowing filaments in vacuum bulbs, right? In 18 between in one year, 1878 and 1879, Joseph Swan and Thomas Edison apparently independently made long-lasting carbon filament bulbs. So by now, we've already been under the water, connected under the water for like 30 years. We
Mm.
haven't even got a light bulb at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And 70 years or longer, 78 years, whatever, they're working on one little thing, and to get one little filament to get electricity to run through that and to heat up. But in what was it, 20 years, they've basically gone, oh, look, we can run stuff through here. And now we're making cables with the capacity to serve the whole world at that time, that go from continent to continent.
Crazy. All right, 1880. Edison's electric lighting system spreads through the cities, New York, London, and Paris in the 1880s. And by 1910, we've got it perfected, and we've got how do you say, incandescent lamps, modern
Incandescent.
incandescent lamps. But by and by, we've still got underwater cables that have been there for 50 years before the light bulb becomes the norm, let alone power tools or anything of that ilk. We're already just getting our heads around electricity at this point, but we
Mm,
still have managed the a massive feat of a continent to continent across the realm underwater cable. I just can't say that enough.
mm. That they're sending signals through, like literally communication. I mean, it's Morse code, but they're controlling the signal that's going through it, and 30 years to do it in a light bulb.
All right, so then one has to like start to make some links from our perspective, right? So they started putting in this cable in 1858. We've had the Great Flood, which was salt-based flood, very important. We've got Q saying watch the water. Maybe we're getting closer to whatever that statement was, whatever Q was. But like indeed, let's examine the water. We've got a breach on this realm, and suddenly we have invading entities in various forms,
Mm,
and they come from the underworld elk of entities. Like it's not like we've been invaded by, you know, like great, great mammalian beings who are like, of the ilk of us. They're not. They're always cold-blooded. So we've got this invasion that happened at the same time or immediately after the Great Flood was the invasion.
mm.
Once the realm was flooded with salt water, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So not long afterwards, we start to decide to lay down cables on the bottom of the ocean. So, Campbell, is it the wildest idea in the world that potentially and possibly this concept of mermaids and mermen, which has been adamantly removed from the truth community, it hardly gets a mention out there. No one wants to look at it. No one wants to validate it. No one even examines that concept. But could it be that the mermaids and mermen who were part of the underwater or underworld realm were, in fact, the foot soldiers or workers that laid these cables? Is that such a far out limb? If the original agenda was artificial intelligence, if the original agenda was to bring forth this underworld civilization of artificial intelligence, and they knew that in order to do that, they had to flood the realm with salt, making a new conductive material, and then connect everyone up, because the whole artificial AI movement is to steal our connectivity, to steal our connection
Mm.
to human, to earth to human and living waters, to human and nature, to human and our, like it has stolen our connectivity. And now our connectivity is all about being connected to the worldwide grid.
Yeah. To the electricity. Yeah, yeah. And don't forget, there's everyone's heard the saying, as above, so below, and people are saying, well, water's above, water's below, but people tend to think of that as the ocean, but the ocean isn't below us. It's on the same level. So does that mean that if there's an ocean above, there's an ocean below?
I mean, it
Water's
definitely
below,
lends to
right?
the idea that there's been a breach, and this is how it's happened. That
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
happened from under the water, and that
And
the water that they're talking about is salt water, which isn't organic to us, but
mm,
very, very conducive to technology and
to
machines.
technology, yeah, and it's very, very plainly apparent now that that is the invader, that's the enemy, that's the parasite. It's the electronics, right? The AI, the internet, all this stuff that they, and it was almost from the inception, right? All the electric, appliances that they started bringing in. Everyone thought that it made their lives better, but everything electric seems to have, bloody, put us more into control, right, and made things much worse.
100%. 100%. It's not
Mm,
worth it. It never has been. In fact, I've challenged Cam and I to actually come up with one positive attribute that's happened at the hands of technology. Like what? Name some in the comments. Like what has increased our quality of life? As soon as the
mm,
floods and salt water and technology and parasitic energetics that require resources to exist hit our realm, that we're not, by the very nature of them requiring resources from our realm to exist means they're not organic to here.
Mm.
Otherwise, they'd be part of the terranium.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. And as a side note, what do we call these? Our lights, or what did we used to? Like the blue bloods, right?
Yes, Cap,
The
yes.
only natural blue-blooded creatures are from the sea.
Are from
But
the sea.
yeah, no land animals, definitely no mammals.
Interesting,
Mm.
and they love their blood. And okay, on that note, to take the mermaid concept further, on that note, how did these beings, these vampires, these greys, these reptilians, how are these artificial intelligence, how do they manage to create an interface, like a biological interface between their realm and ours? Because they want to be able to exist on our realm, come up out of the water. They literally came up out of the water. That's what the Phoenicians were meant to have done, come out of the waters. They came from the ocean. They came
Yeah.
up from out of the water. So how did they
Mm.
build the biological interface? How did they adapt? And our other question has always been, what happened to all the fucking bodies?
The
When you
bodies.
flood this
Yes,
realm,
yes, yes, yes.
120 meters of flood water, 120 meters. We're watching floods today, and they're going through and destroying towns and villages. Never the banks, by the way. It never destroys anything. It never destroys a data center. Only the
No.
neighborhoods and suburbs, right? Like to give us the impression that the floodwaters are increasing and how damaging. They're rising what, 5 meters, 8 meters, 10 meters max.
Well, 10 meters is a huge flood. So most floods are only a couple of meters, if bad floods, right?
I think Fukushima rose to 11 meters. I think 11 meters was, I think that was around. So you can see what 11 meters done and how many people
Fukushima,
died.
the Japanese,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's the
That was
tsunami.
also like, yeah, that was an earthquake tsunami. So that was also, tidal. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But like the devastation that happened at 11 meters
yeah,
is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
exactly. Imagine what would
Yeah.
happen at 120, right?
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of dead bodies floating around. Just imagine that the mermaids and mermen were their duty was to collect all those bodies in the water, take them back to their underworld, and adapt from those bodies biological vehicles that could enter the above ground. Now, what would it be that they could take out of those bodies,
Well,
Campbell?
just the blood, right? The genetically altering so they could
It's fucking
survive
blood.
up here, but it's all to do with blood,
Bloody
right? And
blood.
I don't know, have we heard
They're
any
obsessed with
association
blood.
between them and blood?
I
It's all they're
know.
into, right?
Oh my God,
Bloodline,
it's
this
their whole
blood, that
thing.
blood, drink blood, put it on your face. Blood, right?
They need plasma charged blood. They need blood in order to exist.
Mm,
They're always siphoning it, stealing it, like traumatizing it, drinking it, praying to it. It's like
mm.
their God. Blood, blood. Our blood
Yep,
is like their God.
yep, blood, sack,
That's interesting.
refice, all that kind of stuff. It's all, they drink the blood of Christ, right? At church every week. Very, very sort of, cannibalistic stuff going on there. But yeah, they're obsessed by blood. And of course, the Pope, the Roman Catholic Church, what does the Pope wear on his head?
Yeah. Why? Why, Campbell? Why does he wear a fish head? Why?
A fish head, because it comes from the Dagon, who were the fish gods, the ones that came from the ocean. And kind of the same story as the sea people and the Phoenicians is they just kind of came from the ocean. No one knows how or why. And they were the
Exactly.
fish gods. And
Yep.
it's still worshipped today by the Pope's mitre, which is the fish head.
Yep, exactly. So this underwater realm has various civilizations and cultures like we must do because a few of these random beings have come through and they essentially, in essence, appear quite immortal to us. And they're all obsessed with blood. All of them, all of them, all of them. And blood seems to be what they siphon from us. And I think that's where all the bodies may have gone, Campbell. They may have just like taken them from the floodwaters, taken them into the underworld and adapted themselves. And their God, their mechanism for life and reality and existence, being cold-blooded, is technology. They were the ones that have brought artificial intelligence through, and thus could have been the ones that laid the internet cable and pushed the whole connectivity to the grid beyond everything else, which is what they did.
Hmm.
And here we are today in this
Yeah.
like fucked up mess where our invaders are controlling not only us individually, but the whole realm and everything it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's a
mean,
crazy theory, right? Like to bring the
well,
mermaids and
it
mermen into
is.
this story. Hmm?
It is, but I mean, we know they're obsessed with blood, right? And really, I mean, the thoughts on that have been, oh, well, they want to keep it pure because it's easier to possess them or whatever. What if it's much more base level, right? What if they actually need it to survive in this atmosphere because they haven't quite changed it yet, right? Like, why are they pumping all this, shit into the air, right? And, the whole chemtrail thing, but also just in industry, right? And pumping sulfurs and different salts, right, into the air. They're clearly trying to change the atmosphere. So it's this what's
Oh,
going on, and it's invasion. And
so we've got like
if they were going to invade, their first task would have to be to set up to make way for the Messiah, right, to be able to come through, right, which means get the cables down, get the electricity running, so we can build infrastructure.
they require to control us and this realm, they require connectivity. And they can't declare war on a nation. If it takes a year to get information over to that nation that we're going to invade you, like it basically slows down the whole fucking process. Like they need it in order to control us. And so they pushed it and we haven't done well with it. I think it's a good case to say we've all shrunk. B, our lifespans have dramatically shrunk. Our plants don't grow as big. Our animals don't. Animals die really early. Our plants, and no matter what technology is said, like oh the med beds, all this shit about it's going to save you. This new technology, like is it? Is it, or is it just going to maintain us at this like shrunken, decayed state? Just enough to maintain us so that we just keep working as slaves to
Mm,
maintain and build this system. Like it's
mm.
just so super insane
Yeah,
how
I
this is
mean,
unfolded. It
they've
is like a
changed
fucking
this
comic book.
so much that now at 60, 70, maybe 80, we're done, we're tired, we're decrepit, we're ready to leave, right? Where in all the stories, people were living to hundreds of years. Like, so it's apart from the physical thing, it's a completely different mindset, right? Like, they would be happy being here and living their long lives, right? Now we're like, oh, fuck, I'm done, because salt's corrosive. We've been assaulted
Assaulted, my friend. We've been assaulted by the breach of the portal.
for the portal. Yeah, and what does portal mean?
The harbour. It's the doorway to the harbour. It's the opening to the harbour.
Opening
It's
to the
the
harbour.
opening to the harbour.
Oh, what were they harboring?
So the whales and the dolphins are the most mammalian entities in the ocean water. Are they the only mammalians in the water,
Well,
whales and dolphins?
the only full-time ones, obviously you get seals, but that they don't
Um,
full-time live in the ocean.
All right. So the last point I want to make, Cam, is about the whales and dolphins. So they are like there's only a few mammalian type beings in our oceans, right? I feel like they must have decided to come there as choice deliberately. I don't think they may have like emerged as a natural defense mechanism. Don't know, or maybe they were freshwater beings. Either
They're
way, I've
definitely,
always seen a connection to the
uh,
Syrians.
yeah, they're definitely held in high regard, spiritually, right, and seen as these higher type beings. Yeah.
And actually, if the consciousness of the realm, if we were gone and there wasn't like an invasion, whales and dolphins would be one of the dominant consciousness in the realm.
Mm,
That's what I've always sort of believed.
yeah.
So okay, so and they love us. They love us so much in relationship with humans, don't they?
Mhm.
Anyway, so from this, it's so weird to me that the from this perspective, not weird at all. This same invasive parasites have attacked whales and dolphins. Whales and dolphins emit sonar energy. They seem to be a natural part of the defense system of the old realm, and so they have gone hard with sonar weapons against dolphins and whales. When we get shown a beaching event, that's because their sonar like
Is messed
compasses
up.
have been destroyed.
Yeah,
Yes.
by having sonar shot at them by the bloody navies and governments.
Yes, yes. They have really focused on attacking whales and dolphins. That's just another side of the story, which
Uh,
we'll
And that
get
makes no
deeper
sense
into.
at all, right? Like, why? What's the point
Yeah.
even? Like, why?
Why? Why? So, all right, we can't keep going because the we're in a cloud right now, literally in a cloud. Um,
3D
all right, so
cloud.
people, so that's That is like a summary of a brand new theory. Let's like roll it into one theory here. We literally have an upside down world. Underneath, we do not know if the ocean has a bottom surface. No evidence of that. We have evidence of a flood that introduced salt water. Salt water is the perceived conduit for machinery and artificial intelligence. Today, it could AI could not exist without the oceans. The oceans have underwater cables running that are impossible for us to like put down ourselves because 85% of the oceans are unexplored. Therefore, they must have had some help bring in mermaids and mermen laying down these cables. And suddenly we've got a complete polarized state in human race. We've flipped from telepathic communication with the low conductivity grid, the living grid, the one where we're luminescent, bioluminous and connected in
Mm.
and living off fruits and dew and sap in essentially a vapor canopy. And all of that the real climate change happens when the flood waters, the salt water, creating this massive battery on the realm. And here we are, a very short time later, completely AIified,
Yeah, yeah.
completely.
Ruled by blue bloods, whose, leader wears a fish on his head. And we've had our size and our age and our energy field reduced, right, by salt, right, by salt, because it's corrosive. We've entered a corrosive environment.
All right. Well, look, I think that's a lot of amazing concepts put into one. I've never heard anyone bring that theory together. I'm fascinated. There's so much more. I think we'll have to do a part three.
Yep,
I
let's
mean,
do
let's
that.
like really start to dig deep when it's not storming. And all right,
And yeah, leave us
that's
your comments,
it.
guys.
We
Yeah.
leave you with all of that.
Leave us comments and any
We
other
want to
info
hear
you've
all your
got.
comments,
Yeah, let us know
guys.
what you think and any other connections you can make in there because we might be onto something. The ocean is the ultimate edge.
Right, I think we are. All right, love you guys.
Stay
Enjoy your
awesome.
evening.
All right.
Chew on that shit for
Chew
a
on that.
second.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
I am going to Pakistan in January, and you can come too. This is our website, lostworldadventures.co.uk, and we are going to the Sind Wall and Balochstan, which is where the Sphinx is in what's called Hingle National Park, and many other places too. We're going to Mohenjo-Daro. I'm doing this with Afi. You may have seen her. We've done a few shows together, and she has a lot of family and connections over there. That's why we've chosen Pakistan. And so come over to the website, check it all out. There's a full itinerary here as well. It's about 14 days, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. We're going to see old Tartarian buildings, like melted buildings like Mohenjo-Daro and the Sphinx, and many other awesome things. So go check it out.